Well, certainly quite a very important occasion here at the Gallagher Estate in the north of Johannesburg. It's all about really this revolution, the NEV and the new energy vehicles. As you know that South Africa as well is tapping into this market. As you know also, the automotive sector in South Africa is quite robust and well structured as well. But to really look at the significance of this inaugural summit, so we do have the CEO of the Automotive Industry Development Centre. That is, of course, Mr. Andile Africa. So thank you so much and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Lovely. Maybe just first and foremost, Mr. Africa, let's look at the importance of the NEV. I mean, we know that climate change, it's an existential crisis.
Yeah.
And also the automotive sector is responding in terms of making sure that it's not left behind.
Yes. The automotive industry in general is one of the biggest polluters in the world, up there with some of the heavy industries. And so as part of the effort in the world to reduce carbon emissions into the atmosphere, the world is moving towards cleaning up their energy by introducing either battery electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles, which would pollute less than the normal petrol and diesel vehicles. So today we are unpacking how South Africa can position itself towards this revolution that's happening worldwide. It's happening at a much faster rate than other markets. In South Africa, it's fairly slow at the moment. We're sitting at less than 3% of new vehicle sales that are electric vehicles. However, in other markets in Europe, we're sitting at 40 plus % of new vehicle sales that are moving from internal combustion engine vehicles to electric or hybrid vehicles.
And I've just been looking some of the top trading partners of South Africa, whether you're looking at China, the likes of Germany, they seem to be making some strides.
Yes.
What can we learn from these trading partners?
The interesting thing about the South African production of automotive is that majority of the vehicles we produce here are exported, and they're actually exported mainly into Europe. And when we say Europe, specifically Germany and the UK, and the other countries such as Belgium and so forth. Now, what is interesting with those countries, with those export destination markets, is that they've passed legislation that says by 2035, no internal combustion engine vehicles will be sold, new vehicles will be sold in those markets. What that means is that if we don't move with the times, we will lose that market if we don't embrace new energy vehicles in the South African production capabilities.
Let's look at now the infrastructure, the expansion of the charging networks. How are we doing in this regard? So if we talk about 3% uptake, how do we try and make sure that also the infrastructure is there?
Yeah. So there's a number of reasons why we're sitting at such a low uptake in South Africa. One is that electric vehicles are more expensive than petrol or diesel vehicles. So that's one area of actually challenge. The second one is the issue of what they call range anxiety. By range anxiety means how far can you go with one charge, right? Without having to charge again. And that's what you're talking about now, which is the charging infrastructure. So if you're traveling, for example, from Gauteng to the Eastern Cape, you don't want to be stuck in the middle of the Free State without being able to charge, right? So part of the initiatives that we're discussing today at this EV summit is actually rolling out charging infrastructure. In fact, right behind us here, it's a company that is busy rolling out, a 100% black-owned company that's busy rolling out charging infrastructure. So charging infrastructure is one element, and I think it's one of those chicken and egg situations. So which one comes first? But I think what will ignite the sales will be if government can give more incentives. In other markets, what government does is that they've got customer incentives to incentivize you to actually buy an EV. In South Africa at the moment, Treasury has said to us they don't have the money for that. And so we need to think of other innovative ways of incentivizing people to move towards electric vehicles. The other interesting development that's happened is that I've mentioned that EVs are generally more expensive than petrol or diesel vehicles. What do I mean by that? I think up to now we were looking at north of 500,000 rands per vehicle for an EV. The cheapest one was at that range. However, there are some Chinese brands that are coming in now at around the price point of about 340 to 350,000 rands. Now, for me, at that price point, we're really going to start seeing quite an aggressive move, an increase in sales of EVs. And once you see the more vehicles you have, the more charging stations will be rolled out.
And obviously, I mean, we know South Africa and the African continent is leading when it comes to the automotive sector.
Yeah.
But obviously, with the EVs, we're seeing the competition is growing. You're looking at Morocco,
Yes.
you're looking at many other players as well. But also, this is accompanied by the very massive motivation that in sub-Saharan Africa, you have the mineral resources space.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking about lithium, you're talking about all these key minerals as well. So
Yeah.
how can Africa leverage on that? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, the scramble for the African resources, we can see it unfolding right before our eyes.
Yeah, the story of Africa has been a story of extraction when it comes to minerals, and part of the narrative today is that we want to change that. We want to beneficiate the components rather the minerals in South Africa, and the biggest opportunity that exists is the battery as a component. Firstly, the battery is the most expensive. It's the largest part of any EV. And so if you're going to achieve our goals of achieving 60% localization, we must localize the battery. As you say, the good thing is that most of the minerals, as you say, lithium, copper, cobalt, are all found in the sub-Saharan Africa market. There is also the Africa Free Trade Agreement that can form part of the incentive for us to work together with the Southern African countries to beneficiate. And so Gauteng is positioning itself as the destination for battery manufacture and beneficiation of minerals in South Africa.
And obviously, Mr. Africa, we cannot walk away from the geopolitical factors. I mean, the automotive industry has been also affected by the trade policy coming from the US and reshaping how the industry is working. Well,
Yeah.
what about the EVs? How are they coping in terms of the components and many other factors?
Yeah, so South Africa has a very vibrant components manufacturing industry, and we do a lot of components export. In fact, there are some components manufacturers in South Africa already that export into the US to companies such as Tesla, for example. So the tariffs are not helping, and so there is conversations that are happening at a very high political level between South Africa and the United States to deal with the issue of tariffs. The tariffs have affected us quite drastically in the components manufacturing space. However, fortunately for us in Gauteng, the OEMs that are here, Ford, Nissan, BMW, mainly export into Europe and not into the US. So we're not impacted severely in that context. However, in the components manufacturing space, the tariffs are affecting us. Yeah.
What about the hesitance? I mean, obviously, with every massive change,
Yeah.
a radical change of this nature, others will be very skeptical. Others will be like, well, do we have a buy-in? Do we want to be part of this? What can you say to them so that they see that this is quite important? I mean, for example, you look at South Africa's G20 priorities, the issues of climate action, the issues of addressing the greenhouse gas emissions are right there. And also so that they are part of this massive change.
Yeah. So a move to electric vehicles is not an option for us anymore, for a number of reasons. One, for environmental reasons, we will be forced to move towards cleaner energy vehicles going forward. But the interesting thing is that actually, over the life cycle of a vehicle, owning an electric vehicle is actually cheaper than having a petrol or diesel vehicle. So the capital cost may be expensive, but the running cost of an electric vehicle are much lower than the running cost of an ICE vehicle or internal combustion engine vehicle. So people will see over time that there's less moving parts in electric vehicles. Electricity is relatively cheaper than petrol or diesel, and so there are clear advantages for moving from petrol diesel to electric vehicles. Particularly, this reigns true for fleet owners. So if you've got a fleet of vehicles, there's been proven in other markets and even in South Africa that if you move your fleet from diesel, for example, to electric, you do over time save money. Yeah.
And obviously, I was just going through the white paper. It's very comprehensive. Speaking about these profound changes within the sector, do you think it's adequate in terms of addressing the industry's concerns, but also in terms of really, I mean, for example, it talks about the tax, the incentives that are enshrined. Do you think it's quite comprehensive enough in terms of supporting the industry?
I think it does support the industry from a manufacturing point of view. However, from a consumer point of view, it lacks. And I think, what the OEMs are saying, or what the manufacturers are saying, is that in order for us to ignite local market, we need to have some kind of incentive for the consumer. And South African automotive industry was set up around the local market. So you anchor yourself with the local market, and then you're able to attract business for export point of view. So in order for us to increase local market, we need to have incentives for the consumer. And that's where the policy lacks right now.
All right. So thank you so much indeed for your time. Of course, that was Mr. Africa here, really just giving us just a snapshot in terms of the role played by the Automotive Industry Development Centre, one of the key partners making sure that today is possible. But you do have the innovators, the industry players, and also the policymakers under one roof here at the Gallagher Estate in Johannesburg, really exploring this new sector that is presenting new opportunities and really just supported by so many factors. This is the automotive sector saying that this is all about making sure that they get that momentum, accelerating the pace, especially also when it comes to skills development, forging partnerships within the industry. So stay tuned here. We're going to give you more details during the course of the day.